You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Matt Boggs. How to manifest the loving relationship you want now. Ladies, oh my goodness. I was going to say I have an oldie but a goodie here on Life Check Yourself, but he's not old. But I was telling somebody about my guest, Matt Boggs, the other day, and I literally felt like a grandma, Matt, because I was like, I've known Matt since he was like a whippersnapper.
Oh, gather.
You're not even old.
We came from the age of when you actually had phones with cords on them. We know if you ask kids today, what does it mean to have a burnt CD? They don't think you put a CD in the toaster. We actually know what burnt CD means. That's how old we are.
They don't even know what a CD is. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Wait, let me ask you, when you first met your wife, Irene, did you call her on a flip phone or like an Android or an iPhone?
I just got my first iPhone. This was 2007. I just had gotten my first iPhone. And what's great is we've got a lot of the photos from back then because they're all on the same cloud and all of that. So I did. I had my first iPhone. But this reminds me of a comic that was said once. She was like, she goes, I'm a millennial because we're millennials. I don't know if you know that, Marni.
Well, I'm not, but you are.
We're elder millennials. We're elder.
Dude, I was born in 1966. I am not a millennial. I'm not even close. I'm like on the edge of a boomer, I think.
Well,
oh, Lord.
Let's just pretend you were for a moment. Because then you're part of the group.
My heart is for sure. In my soul, I'm a millennial.
And this comic says, she goes, I'm an elder millennial, which makes me feel like I want to say, gather around, children, gather around the Snapchat. Gather around the Snapchat and let me tell you the tale of the landline.
That is really the truth. So all that to say that I've known Matt Boggs for like 13 or 14 years at least, which I feel like in this world of coaching and the realm of relationship makes us elders.
I've known Marni pre-Jeremy.
Yeah.
Pre-Jeremy days.
You helped me.
Hubby days for those who don't know who the big J is. Hot, sexy J.
Exactly. And so, yeah, Matt was part of my story in so many ways. And he is a genius. So buckle up or get off the treadmill, take some notes, whatever it is, pull over. Because Matt has been helping millions, literally, I do not exaggerate, of people around the world attract love and develop fulfilling, amazing relationships and also have fun doing it. He's the founder of a revolutionary system of attracting love called Manifest Your Man. And he's got this killer YouTube channel. It's one of the largest in the world. It's got like 88 million views. He's got a highly successful coaching business. He's also the co-author of the best-selling book called Project Everlasting, which received 6-figure advance from Simon & Schuster, which is like unheard of today. He's been on CNN, Oprah and Friends, Today Show, Good Morning America, all those things. He's got super cool friends, mentors, John Gray, Jack Canfield, the late amazing Bob Proctor, Brendan Burchard. I mean, he is just a genius and he's got a heart of gold. So we're super lucky to have him here.
Can I tell you and your listeners something new that hasn't been released anywhere yet?
No, tell us.
So I actually wrote my next book.
Nice.
Called Cracking the Man Code.
Yeah.
And it's all about how to create connection and attraction and rock your communication with your man. And I hired this great writing coach that helped me become a better writer. That was part of my process. And I wanted to get this information out to the world, but become a better writer in the process. And so one of her exercises is we wrote the book And then she said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send it out to beta readers to give you feedback on the book. And then you can make tweaks because, when you're writing a book, you're so close to it. Like some stuff it makes sense to you, but does it really make sense to the reader and so on and so forth. So we let everyone rate each chapter on a scale of like 1 to 10 and then give us feedback and then rate the whole book. And so there's a reason why Ken Blanchard says that feedback is the breakfast of champions, right?
Yes.
Like and this is true for love life also, like if you really want, I really believe that our purpose here on this planet, one of our primary reasons for being here is to learn how to give and receive love in a greater way. And think about, well, how do we grow in giving and receiving love, right? We often grow when we screw it up. When we make a mistake, we don't show up right. And if we're not willing, and one of the hardest moments is to stand in the fire of that relationship and hear how you showed up impacted somebody else in a way that you didn't want to have that impact.
Right. Yep.
And so that feedback is often where the greatest growth occurs. And so I was like, I believe this, and I know this doesn't make it easier when you get the feedback.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm getting the feedback, come back, and the first one's like, great. The woman's like, amazing book. Like this changed my life. Like every chapter was like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And the next book or the next, beta reader edition comes back. These are physical books we sent out. They send them back. Next one comes back. I'm like 2. She's like, what is this horse shit? I don't agree with this and didn't agree with that. That was like at the end of every chapter, she didn't like it. There was a couple chapters that she was like 7 or 8 or whatever. So I started reading the notes, and this woman went through and put all kinds of notes about what she didn't like and what was confusing and what she disagreed with. And
that's amazing.
My writing coach was like, dude, this woman is like, who is this? Like super cynical, just, all of that. Next book came back. It was like good score, 8 or 9. Next book came back 10. So out of all the books that came back, I probably had 3 that didn't like it and the rest loved it. Right.
Okay, great.
And there were hardly any that were in the middle. And that was really my goal. My goal was to write a book that people either loved it or they hated it. Like I didn't want it to be lukewarm in the middle, because that doesn't move anybody, right? It doesn't change lives. Like speak your truth in a way that people are either going to really relate or they're not. But here's what's funny. As I look back at what beta reader feedbacks actually helped me make it a better book, it was the ones who completely tore it apart. Those are the ones that actually gave me feedback on how I could improve it for everyone else. The ones that are telling me, oh, I love everything and everything's great. While it feels good, it's kind of like eating a warm cinnamon roll. Right. It feels good. It didn't actually help me get better. And so it was this beautiful appreciation of, wow, I really, really, while I didn't necessarily agree with every piece of their feedback, at least half of the feedback was stuff I could use to make better for everyone else.
That's amazing.
And I love that. So this book is coming out next year. So we're doing a long lead way for it. But you get to hear first. It's done. It's coming out. Crack of the whip.
Yay, that's so exciting. Good for you. That's a big undertaking. I'm so happy for you.
So this kind of leads into kind of relationship tip number 1.
Okay.
I know you didn't ask the question, but
I love it.
It hit my mind.
Exactly. I'm asking it in my heart and you're feeling it.
That's you and I are that connected, Marni.
Yes.
I felt you ask it and I'm just going to.
I did.
And so this one comes from one of those feedback moments where I screwed something up.
Yeah. And
it was a relationship. Relationship advice can come from anywhere. Yeah. And so this one came from my executive assistant when I was first launching my business. And I had a speaking engagement where I was speaking to like 1,500 singles in Orange County. And I asked her if she could help me. She had a little son who was like 2 years old and she was married. And so this was a Saturday and she was like, yeah, I can help you. And so she got up early to help me work back of the room sales. And on the way to the speaking engagement, I called her and I realized I was like, it's Saturday. It's not really, she's got time with her. She has a family and a husband. It's like, I don't want her to come and take time away from her family. So about 30 minutes before the speaking engagement, I called her and I said, hey, Kristen, look, you don't need to come help me. It's all good. I got it. I'll handle the back of the room sales. Like, stay with your family and hang out. And she was like, okay, all right. And then she hung up. I did the speaking engagement, and on the way home, she called me back and she was like, look, can I have a sweaty 10-minute conversation with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And she goes, there's a difference between intention versus impact. And she goes, your intention was good. You wanted me to have time with my family, and I appreciate that. But the impact was you called me 30 minutes before the speaking engagement. I was already on the road. I had already woken up early. I had already put on my makeup. I had already got my husband and my son out of the house to go do their thing. I had completely rearranged my Saturday. And then you canceled my work. So now not only do I not get to earn money, but I totally rearranged my Saturday for what I would normally have loved with my husband. And so there's intention and then there's impact. Your intention was good. The impact was not good. And what I would ask for next time is give me at least 24 hours heads up if you're going to.
Yeah.
And while, it didn't feel good in that moment. And, I knew I had screwed up and I love the way she described that, because it wasn't attacking me.
Yeah.
But it was more the behavior, and I can change the behavior.
Yeah.
And so what a valuable lesson that is. And so I totally agreed with her. And I said, you got it, 24 hours. And I apologize. And you know what? I'm going to pay you for the hours anyway, to make it right. But I've used that lesson. That was probably 13 years ago. I've used that lesson in my own communication over and over and over again with intention versus impact. Because one of the hardest things to do is have a sweaty 10-minute conversation or conversation, if you know their intention was good. Because what do you do? You know their heart is in the right space, and yet it created a negative outcome. This is like a perfect platform for saying, here's how to make the energy right between us without attacking the other person.
I think that's so important, because often we take things in those conversations personally, right? Because somebody doesn't realize that the impact they made was not intentional. Right? Like that they didn't mean to hurt you. They just go, oh, Matt's such a selfish jerky, blah, 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 blah. Right. And not even say anything. And so to parse it out like that in those two different ways is so amazing, because it allows us to say, wait, so if I have a good intention, then all I have to do is learn a skill to make a better impact. And that's easy, right? It's like, how can I communicate better? How can I learn that? How can I have empathy? How can I be direct? So, and this ties into what I wanted to talk about. Read my mind, question number 2, which is, labels. Because you and I were just talking about how, and we love that everyone is very woke and conscious. In fact, I was talking to someone on my podcast who is an expert at working with millennials. We're talking about millennials. And she was saying that they know all the words, they know all the labels, right? Like I'm triggered, you're anxious, avoidant attachment style, you're, what did you say? What did you call it? The rescuing complex? What was that called?
Yeah. Savior complex.
Savior complex. Right. Okay. So she was saying, like, people are like throwing out these words and they're being used, but there's a lot of downside of them. This woman actually was talking about and we talk about this all the time in our campus. You can talk about a feeling without actually feeling it. You can name a label and be like, I'm this, but it like almost disassociates you from that. And then, so what do you do with that? And then is that you forever? And I wanted to talk to you about that, because I don't believe any of that stuff is true. I believe that if we get too attached to our labels, then we take on that identity, and then it can turn into a limitation. So I know you're all about overcoming limitations.
Well, it's exactly right, because wherever you and I both know, and you listening, I'm sure you know this, that where your attention goes, energy flows. Our brains, neuroscientists know that what fires together, wires together. So the more you say I am statements, I am an avoidant attachment style, right? Be very careful about labeling yourself anything. If you are going to even describe a label around yourself. There's two ways to do that. One is say, up until now, I have been, and put it in the past and disassociate yourself with it. That's really, really important. But, the challenge is, how do we describe an experience that we've been having so that the other person can get it and get it fast? I think that's why we use labels, is because it shortcuts conversations.
Yeah. It
helps the other people understand us. And we all want to feel understood, and we all want to feel connected. And so that's why we tend to do it, so that they can get it. The other reason that people do it is because they commiserate and they want attention, right? And so the whole idea is, if we can put more attention on where we're going and what we want to be versus where we've been and what we are struggling with, you will find it way easier to overcome the place you've been if you keep your eyes on where you're going. And that's really the end of story on that one. So the whole idea is saying, it doesn't mean you have to deny reality or deny circumstances. But what you're doing is you're denying the power that the circumstance has over you, and knowing that the spirit breathing you is far more powerful than anything you've ever experienced or any circumstance you're in. And how do we know this? Well, we know this because we've been coaching people for over a decade. We know this because we've seen people who in no way, shape, or form should have ever been able to attract the love of their life, and found the absolute most beautiful partner for themselves in a passionate relationship when they went through some crap in the past and have been told they were worthless and nothing, and went through all kinds of abuse, only to rise above that and say, no, that's not the definition of me, and I'm going to be someone new, and I'm going to create something beautiful for my life. And then they do. The people who want to get really interested in their past, this is why old form therapy has been falling away, and why new modalities keep arising.
Yeah.
If old form therapy worked 100%, we wouldn't need anything new.
Right.
We wouldn't need new modalities, right? But what happens is, in that old form therapy, what are you trained to do? Let me go and talk about the problem. Let me go and drudge up the past. Let me go and do that. There's a space for that, only as much as you can heal it and feel it. But to rehearse, curse, and nurse that past over and over and over again just hardwires it even more. And then it keeps you in a cycle of therapy for decades or years. I've seen people break through things in a matter of sessions, not years, sessions. Then they don't need to see that therapist anymore because of that new modality is so amazing. And I've seen, for those listening, I've seen Marni at work. This woman is a genius coach. Like, she is so brilliant at laser being. One of the greatest questions I heard you ask, Marni, I think great coaches are both well trained, but they also have beautiful intuition, and they just laser in on that. And there was this woman talking about being stuck in her relationship and being stuck in a cycle of unhappiness and whatnot. And the question you asked her was something to the effect of, and this is a long time ago, but it was something to the effect of, when is it time to grow up and start being the woman of your own instead of being the little girl? And she just started bawling.
Yep.
She had never made that leap for herself. And she went right out of being a little girl, daddy's little girl, to then adopting that same role in all these relationships, and it wasn't serving her, and she was unhappy. Do you remember that question?
I remember that woman. I remember that moment. Her name's Michelle, and she is now married to a great guy named Paul, and she has a cute little son. And I do remember that moment. And I think this is a really important piece that you just brought up, because women who are listening, anyone who's listening, I hear this so much, like, I've done all the work, I've gone to therapy, I know this, I know that, but I'm still not getting past the second or third date. I still am attracting men that I'm not attracted to, and the ones that I'm not interested in are all over me. And and it's because, like what you said, there's this one question about the future. There's this one new way of thinking that can free you. I love that you said, what did you say? Rehearse, nurse, and curse?
Yeah. Like
the past.
You curse the past, you rehearse it. right? You nurse it and you try to make it okay. And it's just firing and wiring.
Over and over again. So what are the biggest, better questions? Because I know you're all about high quality questions, right? Good questions. I think something you said to me a long time ago is like the quality of the questions you ask impacts the quality of the life that you have.
Right.
So if people are listening and they're having one of those scenarios, right? Like they're stuck, but they've done all the work. You know, they know about their abandonment issue and they know their attachment style. What do they do, Matt?
So there is one of my mentors, his name's Gay Hendricks, PhD from Stanford, written over 40 books. He gave me a beautiful sequence of questions to ask, high quality questions that you can ask. And there's 4 of them, and it spells the word fact, FACT. But in order to ask these 4 questions, there's a precursor question that you have to identify. And that is, what would you love? What would you love? And really allow yourself to think about what you would love. And what I have found is that if you've been on the path of trying to find love and you've been discouraged and as you've been at it a long time and you've been dating online for years and it just hasn't worked out, it gets really painful to try to really connect to what you would love because there's a big part of you that doesn't believe it will ever happen. Right? It's like, like it hasn't happened yet. The chances are it will never happen. And you see all of the circumstances around you, all the evidence online, the evidence that all the good guys are taken, or that there's just the guy that really has the qualities that you want. You've done so much work on yourself. You've put yourself in a financial position. You've built yourself spiritually in your health that you see the guys just deteriorating around you. And so your believing faculty of your mind isn't up to speed with your ability to manifest. That's one of the primary challenges. I've done all this work and I've done all this and that, but what they haven't yet exercised is their faith or their belief. In Think and Grow Rich, chapter 2, chapter 1 is desire, is what is it that you would love? What is it that you really want? And really not watering it down, but really going for it. What is it that you want? And the second is faith. And he doesn't use faith in a religious context. He uses faith as in a supercharged belief that there is an unwavering certainty that if you have the desire for this, here's what I believe. Your desire for the love that you want is the counterpoint to love's seeking you. That same relationship seeking you. If you have the desire for this relationship, on the other end of that desire is a man who has that same desire for you. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be placed in your heart. I don't believe in a God or a universe that would put that desire in your heart only to tease you and say it was never possible for you. And how do I know? Because I've seen crazy things happen. I've seen a woman who is in her late 60s, 69 years old, living in a tiny little town you think your standards are high. Okay, I'm going to give you some standards that might blow yours out of the. Think your standards are high. You want a man who's financially stable, who's athletic, who's smart, who's fun, who can keep you on your toes, who's adventurous, who's healthy, who's all these things, spiritual. You want a man who's all these things, right? Try this one on for size. This woman's name is Julia, 69 years old, living in Canada. She says, Matt, I'm never going to meet the man of my dreams because I'm not willing to move. And I want a man who lives in my town. And I live in a tiny little town in Canada. I said, all right, well, what else? She goes, well, I'm super smart. I'm a scientist and I need someone who's like super smart. I said, okay, what else? She goes, I'm also an environmentalist and I'm green and I don't own a car and I only ride a bike and I won't date a man who drives a car.
Okay. I love it.
Think about who that eliminates. Men who drive cars. And he's got to be super smart. And I grow my own food. I take solar heated showers and I reduce my carbon footprint. I need a man who's all that. And so most people would, especially coaches, would be like, well, let's kind of tame your expectations here. Like, let's bring it down. But I leaned in and I challenged her. I was like, all right, that's baseline. What do you really want? What do you really want? And she goes, well, I said, what would really turn you on, Julia? You're 69. What really turns you on? And she goes, what really would turn me on is a man in a kilt.
I love it.
A kilt. If you want to hear that again, a man in a kilt. I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect that. It kind of made me laugh. I said, man in a kilt. All right, Julia, you go, girl. Right? You got your own thing going on. I love it. You go. And so what she really had to work on was her believing power, was her faith. Because she was taking the actions, she was doing the things, but there was a big part of her that just didn't believe.
Yeah.
But here's the cool part. You don't have to have perfect belief to manifest your man. You don't. Just one corner of your mind really open to the possibility and leaning into that energy day in and day out. One corner of your mind, this can happen. This can happen. And one day, and this is often the way it works, it's usually not the pounding of the dating app pavement. Sometimes that works.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting. I actually believe that is required, but it often doesn't come from that source. What that shows the universe is you're committed. But then the source will come from somewhere else. So she's pounding the dating app pavement, boom, boom, boom. And then out of the blue, a friend called her and said, hey, Julie, I think there's someone that you should meet. His name's Ian. Long story short, the two of them met. This dude is an engineer, super smart, scientist.
Love it.
He loves it. This man doesn't live in her town, but was born in her town and always wanted to move back and retire there. This man is super green, grows his own food, takes solar powered showers, doesn't own a car, rides his bike everywhere. Julia and Ian fell in love.
Of course they did.
Ian proposed to Julia. And when she's walking down the aisle, she tells me later, she goes, Matt, I'm walking down the aisle. I turn the corner and I'm at the top of the aisle. I see Ian at the end of the aisle and I almost faint because Ian is wearing a kilt.
She didn't know he was going to wear a kilt?
She didn't know he was going to wear. She didn't even know he had, I think it was Scottish heritage. She didn't know he had that heritage. And she was like, I almost fainted because it was everything that I was dreaming of. She goes, Matt, we got married. I just turned 70 years old. I feel like I'm 25 again. Thank you for helping me believe. And so I say that to everyone listening because your history does not determine your destiny. It does not matter how long things have been single, how many dates you've been on. And your paradigm wants you to buy into that crap. It wants you to not believe because your paradigm or limiting belief wants to stay comfortable. And that's the way it can keep you comfortable is by staying single. But you just need to lean into that belief that it is possible. And so once you come up with what you would love, here are the 4 questions.
Okay. What are they? Hit me.
That was a long intro. So thanks for.
I love it. I was captivated.
Here, the 4 questions are FACT. First one is face into. What do you need to face about really having a relationship and really opening your heart that you've been resisting facing? In other words, what's the fear about really opening your heart? You got to face rejection. You got to face change in your life. You got to face really bringing someone in. So the first one, and journal on these. What do you need to face that you've been resisting facing? The A is, what do you need to accept? What do you need to accept about that situation as it is in order to make peace? You know what? I need to accept that I'm going to have someone come into my life. I need to accept that I might get rejected. I got to accept that as a fact, and I make peace with that and know that I'm going to be okay if I get rejected. The C is choice. What, if I'm willing to face this and I'm willing to accept it as it is, what choice could I make that would move me in the direction of this dream?
Love it.
What choice could I make? You know, I could choose to get online again instead of being so jaded that there's nobody out there. You know what? I could choose to hire Marni as my coach and say, she rocks. I want support. I can make the choice to get in a support group full of friends. I can make the choice to start believing again where I've only been in doubt, right? What choice could you make? And then the T is take action. So if that's the choice, what action is associated with it? It's not enough to just say, I'm going to make a choice and then flip it off into some idea that happened on one particular day. You listen to a cool podcast.
Right.
No, the action is where the transformation lives. So what action are you willing to take that moves you forward? And the action is, I'm going to write this affirmation on my mirror and I'm going to read it every morning, every night. And I'm going to put it on my phone. So I look at it 127 times a day as I pick up my phone, you know, or the action is, and whatever the action is, and move energy. So the question for everyone listening is, what have you been talking about doing for weeks or months that you haven't yet done? What have you been talking about doing that you haven't yet done? And do that thing, move yourself forward. So I encourage you to at least one action is journal on these 4 questions.
Yep.
FACT, face into, accept, choice, and take action.
I think one thing that you said was so important, and I want to make sure people caught it, is that it's this thing that changes the energy, right? Like all of those things, the belief, the taking action, the making different choices. There is, like, if we are energy and there is energy out there in the world and we want to manifest our man, right? And have our energetic vibration be on the same path, then we can't just have all this happen just between our ears.
Right.
Right. And we want it and we think it, because I think that what we're doing is we're thinking all those positive things. But then what are we doing? We're doing what we were talking about before. We're having negative consensus building with our friends about how hard it is to meet a great guy. We're showing our friends, like, can you believe this guy wanted to go out with me? Right. And those two things are in conflict with each other. Right. And so what I really want everyone to hear Matt saying is, like, it's about having consistent action with those thoughts that moves the energy that creates that result. It's like a very, I used to be a nursery school teacher, and I taught, like, I believed in, like, whole language, like whole teaching, whole language, right? It's a holistic approach. Your mind, body, soul, emotions have to all be going toward that frequency. And I think that that's what moves energy. And it feels better when you move energy, right?
Oh, it feels a ton. It feels a ton better. You're releasing all the pent up energy you've got inside. Energy is either expressed. Let me say it this way. Energy will not be suppressed. Even if we try to suppress it, it will then express in other ways, and expresses in negative emotions. It can express as dis-ease that comes through. It can express in all sorts of forms. So really, expressing the energy through movement and taking action just feels good in and of itself. So one concept that can really help with that is to make new meaning of what rejection is and what rejection means.
I love this topic.
Make new meaning out of that. And because this was one thing that I had to really do. I had a really messed up relationship with rejection when I was dating and looking for love. And here's the weird part about it. I wasn't as afraid of getting rejected as I was of hurting someone else's feelings. I was more afraid of hurting someone else's feelings and having them, like, not being interested in them, because that was kind of my pattern. I had done more of that than really liking someone and being rejected, because that was all on me. I was like, I can handle that. It's going to be my pain, but causing someone pain, I didn't want to do that. So I would be literally in a bar or in out and about in a fair or whatever, where we're hanging out. And I'd see somebody and I was trying to judge my chances of going the distance with them without ever having talked to them. Like, just in my mind, I could see myself going, what are the chances of this thing actually working out before even approaching them to figure it out? Oh my
gosh. Right.
Imagine the trap that is. Like, what a losing scenario that is. Like, there's no chance that that's going to happen. I wasn't giving myself the number of chances that was required. And so, when I did go up and talk to someone, there was also so much pressure on that situation that they were often like, this guy's too intense for me. Like, I'm out of here, And so redefining rejection in the sense that it's part of the landscape. It's the name of the game, that everyone's either going to be rejected or get rejected lots of times. And so to have high engagement, low attachment to each and every interaction, high engagement, low attachment. If they reject you, if you reject them, it's actually not setting you back to square zero, because we often think I'm starting over.
Right.
Never use that phrase. You are so much further down the path having had that relationship. You've learned so much about yourself. You've learned how to be with other people. You've learned what you don't want. You've learned what you do. You're so much further down the path. And so the concept is, what if every one of us had a number as a sticker on our heart? And that number was the number of rejections that you would have to experience, the number of no's and the number of dates you would have to go on before you met the one. Now, we don't get to see our number, but what if there was a specific number? And let's just say, what if your number was like 49?
Okay.
And the 50th person was going to be your person, like the one for you. You're going to spend the rest of your life with, if that's what you want, let's just say. And putting that mentality on it, right? How quickly would you want to get those 49 rejections out of the way?
Right? For sure.
How fast would you do it? You'd like, if you knew that number 50 was going to be it forever, like you try to get those 49 like this week.
Right.
Like, let me just get them out of the way. And how devastating would each of those rejections be?
Not so much.
Not so much. And so the whole philosophy here is we each have it. We each do have a number. Everyone who's ever been married or is with the love of their life now, they had a number. You listening, you have a number. And so just associate every rejection as moving on the path one step closer to your person. Is the person you're dating or someone even better still? Because if that person rejects you or you reject them, it doesn't work out, there's someone even better in store for you right down the road. And that has really helped me. It's helped my clients create more freedom to say, look, let us have a chance to date. When I entered into that, I'm willing to date and not everyone has to turn into the one. It opened up my heart to be in this way more accepting, loving place that I could actually tap into the place in my heart that could create deep connection. And that's when I found my wife, Irene. It was in that state.
I love that. I'm a reality TV show junkie, Matt. Did you know that about me?
Well, I knew that about the Bachelorette. I know that one.
Oh, yeah. So I've been watching this one called Love Island. And there's this really beautiful girl. She's a bombshell, right? She came in and she put herself out there with every single guy in that dating scenario in the villa that lives in the villa. And what's amazing is at the end of sort of this little piece, all the guys like respected her and loved her because she went for what she wanted and she didn't take it personally. She didn't make it be, she kept saying after they said, I'm really more interested in this person or whatever. She kept saying, well, I back myself, right? Like I'm confident. And so then the game changes. And like the next week, she ends up meeting a guy that's like, her guy. He's really into her, right? And I think I like this story because this is a TV show, right? But they're casting these beautiful girls and beautiful guys, right? But in the end, she's still this human, right? And she keeps putting herself out there and putting herself out there again and again and in the public eye, right? And she says after every time, I'm going to keep backing myself. This doesn't mean that I'm not enough. It means that I'm waiting for my right person.
I love that.
And that doesn't hold me back from putting myself out there and showing these people that I'm interested in them and being direct and having great conversations. And if you do that and you know that your number is coming, then there's great dating karma, like following you around, right? From continuing to back yourself and engaging with people. And what's cool is all those guys in the end, they don't vote her off because they're like, Danica is going for it. She's putting herself out there. She deserves love. Her match is right around the corner. We're not voting her off the island, so to speak. So I think there's like this attractive quality that we get when we have that inner confidence that we know our number is coming and we're just in there putting our heart out there. And that really supports even what you said your mission is, right? Like being love and creating love by creating those connections. And then if it's not a match, we're all grown-ass men and women in the end and we move on. Some people take it better than others, but that's not your problem, right? You just control what you can control, which is yourself. And keep going out there and be in that belief power.
I love that. I love that. And I think we should all use that phrase every day. I'm backing myself. I'm backing myself. Is that I got this. So we would all do even better if we cranked up the volume of our internal best friend and cranked down the volume of the internal critic. Because we all have it. That's a practice that I absolutely subscribe to, and I love that she used that phrase. I'm backing myself. I think
it's a British thing. It's a British dating show. They're like, I back myself. I can't say it. All right, my last question is: so I get your emails because I'm a fan too, and you wrote this thing. I think you wrote it the other day, but maybe you said it before. But I was like, when I talk to Matt, I have to ask him what this one thing is. I thought it was just so cool. You talk about the magic wand.
Yeah.
What's the magic wand, Matt? Inquiring minds want to know, what is the magic wand? Let's end with that.
So this is a perfect perfect next question to the topic that we've been on, actually.
Okay.
So I love this tool. It's called the Magic Wand question. It's a question, actually, and you ask it early in a date. And even if you've been dating a guy and you haven't asked this question yet, throw it out there because it's really, really important. And what it does is it helps you identify what he really wants. In other words, what his vision is for his life. From this unattached place of making welcome whatever he wants, he gets to want. There's no judgment about what somebody wants. And if you can come from that state, it's really, really powerful because then you get to see really early on if the two of you have a shared common vision. It doesn't mean that you're going to wind up together. It doesn't mean that you're choosing one another, but it does mean that you have a shared vision for what you both want for your life and your love life. And that is 90% of starting out on the right track. Because so often we'll date. Gosh, I was coaching a woman the other night and she was like, she's literally 6 months in with this guy. And he's told her he just wants to be friends. And she's wondering why they haven't moved things forward. And so she signed up for coaching because she's like, how do I figure these things out? And I'm telling her, you guys don't share the same vision.
Right.
He's literally telling you he wants to be friends. You're literally telling him you want more than friends. Those two things don't match. Why is he always come like he's real sporadic? Why is he shower love on me and he wants to hook up with me and all this? I said, because he's just not finishing his sentence. He wants to be friends with friends.
Exactly.
That's a really nice thing to have in life. If you don't want a relationship, that's a really great thing for a guy who doesn't want a relationship. You're giving. She goes, why isn't he stepping it up more? And I said, there's one simple reason, because you're not requiring it. You don't require that he steps up. You're willing to be friends with benefits without anything else. It's up to you, whatever you would love. So the magic wand question helps you avoid that scenario. And on the very first question, you kind of have this playful, fun vibe and first date, and you say, hey, can I ask you kind of a personal question? It's a good pattern interrupt. And he'll say, yeah. And you say, well, I'm not going to ask it unless you promise you'll answer 100% honest. And you have to have a smile and kind of a fun, playful look on your face. And he'll say, all right, I'll answer honestly. And you said, if I handed you a magic wand and you could create anything you want for your love life, like anything you want, what would you create? What do you want? And 9 times out of 10, not only will the guy answer that question honestly and say, well, I want this and I want that. What you're looking for is a couple of things. You're looking for clarity. Okay. Does he know what he wants? Or is he making it up on the spot? You can tell instantly if a guy's done any thought on this. Right. The guy who doesn't know what he wants, it's kind of a yellow flag if you know what you want. Right. Right. Yeah. And you're looking for congruence. Like, is he saying what he thinks you want to hear, or can you feel that this is really what he wants? Right. And 9 times out of 10, after they answer, they're going to toss it to you. Yeah. And this is an opportunity for you to speak what you want, irrespective of what he just said. And very tempting to want to try to meld visions and water down what you say and so on and so forth. And here's the point. The reason why this works so well, especially early on, is because you don't know that you like him yet. You don't even know that you're choosing him yet. Your answer has nothing to do with him. And that's the whole point. Detach your answer from him and put it out there that someday with some guy, you're going to be married, you're going to have kids, or you're going to live together, or you're going to travel the world together, or whatever your vision is. And say, I'm really looking for a partner that I can enjoy life with, be passionate with, have amazing lovemaking with, travel with, grow a family with, whatever it is that you would love. Speak the vision for what you would love. Because there is almost nothing more sexy than a woman who's unattached that it's you, but she's certain that she's going to create something beautiful and amazing. And when you paint that beautiful, amazing picture, then he can start to see himself in that picture or where your visions align. That's a beautiful moment of connection. And you'll find out real quick if your visions align or if your visions don't align, and you streamline the process.
I love that. Okay. Now, I believe the listeners are going to ask this question as a follow-up. So I'm going to do that before I let you go. And I also want your opinion on this because I wonder if we're on the same page. What about if a guy's like, well, like if I met the right woman, that would be amazing. But like I'm not really like looking for that right now. But like if when she comes or if I meet her, then I would totally be ready for a relationship. Do you think that is a flag? That question gets asked at our man panels all the time.
Yeah. So my stance on this is listen to what he says and believe him. The most important phrase of that whole response is where he's at right now. You just said, I'm not looking for that right now. We all think that we can change somebody, right? Like, yes. Right? But that is a guy who is in playtime. He's in playtime, right?
I love that.
You could have a follow-up question where you said, all right, well, let me ask you this. If you could have it any way you wanted it, when would you meet the right person?
I love that. That's Matt Boggs genius.
Like if you could have it any way you want it, when would be the right time where you would meet the right person if you could write your own script?
And then he says, I don't know. I got to get this and I got to get my career together. Or I got to make sure like my kids grow up and are out of the house. And my ex-wife is this and da, da, da. And then you're like, check, please.
Exactly. It's either, and there's really only two answers. It's now or not now. You want a man who's now. That's what you want.
You do. Matt is so, I have all these Mattisms in my mind of the silent movie, right? Like, right? Like he might be saying one thing, but what are his actions?
Right. Exactly. The sound.
Well, ladies, if you want more of this juiciness, be one of the 88 million views on Matt's incredible YouTube channel. And you can also go to crackingthemancode.com. What do you have there? I know we have a link in the show notes. What else is there? Because I see it's got /bonus on it.
Yeah, so we've got some beautiful gifts for people to go deep in terms of, there's an ebook on a lot of women. The question is, especially right now, is they want a masculine man. They want a man who will lead with his masculine energy. And one way to do that is to, as you naturally dial up and stand even more solid in your own feminine energy, you draw him into your masculine energy. So there's a great book called The 5 Feminine Qualities That High Value Men Find Irresistible. So how to dial those up. There's also a self-love activation kit with a meditation and affirmations that help you create that real deep inner confidence where you can say, I got my back. But those aren't just words. Those are actual deep energy that you feel and solid confidence that you're coming from. So both of those are at crackingthemancode.com.
Yay, go get them. Be a super fan of Matt Boggs like I am. And I always will credit you for asking me the high quality question when I first met you that got me on the path to meeting my man. And even though you were a whippersnapper, I will always be so grateful for that. And I just am so grateful to have you on the show. So thank you for being here, Matt.
I'm grateful for you, Marni. Thank you as well.
Mwah. And ladies, by the way, there's like a million things that Matt said. Like this is a rewind, like hit that little replay, write it down. And then you know what? I'm going to tell you like I do every single time. Listen and then check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.